to start, I didn't think of questions. What's next for Glitz? What's the new album called? Do you have any details about when it's going to come out?
Yes, I have all those details. So the new album's called In Poor Taste, which is really good.
Okay.
We've kind of been able to, like, if we get a bad review, we could be like, well, it's in poor taste anyway. So it's fine. No, that's not why we did that, but we just thought it was, somebody at band practice one day said that something we were doing was in poor taste. We were like, that is a great name for the record. So
Yeah,
it's
that's cool.
stuck. And it comes out at the end of this month, so January 31st. And we're going to be having our record release show on that day, Friday, January 31st at As Above, So Below
Cool.
Distillery. And yeah, 11 songs in a punk rock 30 minutes.
Is it going to be like on streaming services and physical copies?
That's a great question, yes.
Yeah,
So
yes,
it's going to
both.
be on all the platforms.
Okay.
And then we're going to have cassette tapes because we're cool
That's
and
awesome.
retro. And they're going to be pink, which is fun. So yeah, if you have a tape deck or an old car, this is for you.
I noticed you were talking about like reviews earlier. Have you guys gotten like a bad review in the past? Is that why you're so like?
Oh,
concerned
no,
about
no,
it?
no. But just past experience, we've all, gosh, everyone in the band has been playing music for, I'm the youngest one, and I've been playing music for like 25 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of our previous bands just have experience, you know, trying to promote records and dealing with the press and just the music industry in general. And it's, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, so to speak, but it's fun and it's interesting, and we've met some really amazing people along the way. So, no, I mean, you know, a bad review, here's the thing. So, today it seems like nobody gets bad reviews. Like, reviewers will just choose to not review an album if they don't like it, which I don't like that. Like, just review the album if you don't like it. Like, how great. Like, bad reviews to me are just as good reviews. You know, I want to hear people's opinions on why they think something's bad or why they think something's good. So I don't mind if Glitz Biarritz gets a bad review, and I'm not going to say we're going to get a bad review because we're really proud of the record and we think it's just like a total banger. But
Yeah, who cares?
but yeah, exactly, we don't care one way or the other if people like it or not.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where does the name of the band even come from?
So we have our famous Frenchman in the band, Olivier, and we were like early on before we had a name. I don't even think we were playing original songs yet. I think we were still just playing covers to see if we could even like work as a band. And we're like, well, we should probably have a name. So we started throwing some stuff around. My name I brought to the band was Cold Pizza, which I thought was cool. Punk rock name. But obviously the other bandmates didn't all agree on that one. And then Vince one day was like just naming off cities around the world. And he's like, do you know there's a city in France called Glitz Biarritz? I'm like, oh my God, that's it. And then Olivier comes into practice and he goes, oh, I've lived near there. I'm from Glitz Biarritz. And we're like, well, that's the name of the band then. So that's
awesome.
how that came to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the lineup that you have now, Vince, Olivier, Johnny, you, and Tom, is that how it's been when you first formed?
No. So the original members are Olivier, Johnny, and Tom.
Okay.
And they're all, actually all of us are Craigslist finds.
Oh,
We
okay.
all got lucky and didn't get murdered from our Craigslist meetup and ended up having really similar musical philosophies and things and gelled. But yeah, Johnny kind of started the whole thing. And he is still to this day kind of like our manager, administrator.
Yeah.
He's really good at that. And then I think he started jamming with Olivier, and then they brought Tom in. And then I think they played with several drummers before I finally came in. And then Olivier knew Vince from somewhere around town, and Vince just had the swagger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we let him stay.
So when you joined the band, were you like seeking a band to join at the time, or did they just find you?
Kind of. I always, if something kind of piques my interest, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. And I don't know, I'm always, especially in New Mexico, where, you know, I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really going out places and meeting too many people. And I'm fairly new to the area. Not much anymore, but was. I saw kind of the list of influences Johnny had posted on the listing, and I was like, oh, these are all really cool bands. These people might be pretty cool. And he wanted to talk on the phone before I went to the practice to make sure I wasn't weird, which I was really relieved about because I wanted to make sure he wasn't weird. Right. And I don't know, we just like really gelled talking about bands. It's rare, you know, when you're into indie music or underground music, when somebody actually knows a band that you like, it feels like so good. Yeah. I don't know, it's like this, it's an instant connection. So yeah, I was like, okay, well then I'm not really looking for a band, but I always want to play music. So, you know, if it's fun, I'm going to keep doing it. And it's fun.
It's really fun. It's fun to watch too. Go to your shows. Okay. How did you even end up in Santa Fe in the first place?
So yeah, we moved to Santa Fe from Seattle. And both my husband and I were in law enforcement. And 2020 was really rough for us. Yeah. So we were like, okay, I think it's just time for a career change, just a change. We just needed a change of pace. And I think in 2020, there was so many things going on. A lot of people felt the same way. There was like I don't know, we're at everything's settling now, but there was like a mass migration during that period of time. And we were part of that. Yeah. And so always, my husband and I have moved all across the country for different reasons, and our mantra is whoever gets the good job, the other person just goes. Yeah. So my husband got the good job at Los Alamos National Laboratory. Right. And we had been to New Mexico just passing through on road trips and things, and we're like, it seems pretty interesting. And we just like, you know, experiencing new and interesting things. So we're like, why not? Let's give it a try. So here we are.
Cool. Yeah. When you were in Seattle, were you part of the music scene there too? Mm-hmm. But you weren't a full-time musician, right? You were in.
Yeah, it never pays that good. Right. Really. No, we both worked full-time, had careers. We really hadn't played music full-time. It had been both of us from about 18 to 23. Played music pretty much full time, and then we decided we need jobs. Yeah. and to just figure out what does it look like when we're in our 30s, our 40s, what does life look like, and so in Seattle, music was for the first time in our lives really a hobby.
I see. Yeah.
And it was really fun.
Yeah.
It became a lot more fun. So yeah, we had a really great scene in Seattle. Travis played bass in a band called Museum of Light that's still touring. I think they're touring with Coalesce now. Okay. And then my husband and I played in a duo, an instrumental indie duo called Programs. That we record here in New Mexico, and we did play at Ren's Den once in Albuquerque, but yeah, we're not too active here.
How would you compare the scene in Seattle to in Santa Fe?
Well, bigger.
Bigger.
Vast. And I have to say, I mean, Seattle, it's really supportive. Really supportive. I mean, we were able to just like dive right in. Easy to get shows, easy to get people to come out to shows. People are going out to shows, but it's a big city, right? You have a lot of people to choose from. Like King County, where Seattle is, has the same population as the entire state of New Mexico. So really? There's just not... So New Mexico, I feel like if you're into a niche thing, like not even just indie rock, but a subgenre of indie rock, which, you know, all of us seem to be kind of involved in these many subgenres. I mean, in a state where there's not many people, it's like when you find those people, I don't know, there's probably like 20 of them, which is cool though, because it makes the community here in New Mexico way more tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody, which can be good, can be bad. Yeah, so I think you have to just kind of make your own scene in New Mexico, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because then you get to make your own scene and it's fun. Like, you know, you guys making your zine, or, you know, and meeting friend bands and just like starting your own thing. It feels more organic in New Mexico, where in Seattle everything's just kind of already established. So you don't feel like you're a part of something big, but you feel like you're not like Nirvana starting the grunge movement. Like that, those days are done. Yeah.
I also know that you're involved in film. Did that start when you moved here, or when did it start for you? Yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been into art and film, and being in bands, you know, just like making music videos and stuff, like it's kind of like how you get into film anyway. And performing, right? Like when you're on stage and you actually like feel like, I don't know, you want to give something strange to the audience, or some kind of performance that isn't always like necessarily who you are. I don't know. To me, it's a lot of like playing music has a lot to do with film and acting too. It's this all art, I feel like, crosses over. So yeah, I filmed, edited, and made my own music videos with all my bands before, and then coming here, New Mexico has like an actual like industry. That's pretty big. It's slowed down a lot now, but when we first got here, it was really moving, and I just had really good opportunities that I just, like, when it comes to the film industry, it's like you take the momentum when it's there, because it can just go away very quickly. So strike while the iron's hot, which is what I did, and that's how I got into some bigger projects and acting and things. But I'd like to use a lot of, you know, what I've learned and the connections I've made there to maybe do some cool Glitz Biarritz music videos for the new record or something like that.
That's cool. I also heard you do stunts. How do you get, like, how are you qualified for that?
Well, you don't necessarily have to be. So I worked on a kids show for Nickelodeon called The Loud House. No, The Really Loud House. The Loud House was the cartoon. The live action's called The Really Loud House. And I get a lot of jobs doing things for children.
Right.
Because I'm small. And kids can't do, you know, they can do the acting part, but anything that could remotely be considered quote unquote dangerous, you need a stunt double for. So even just like jumping off a couch, falling down stairs, running fast, these are all things that, you know, the kids can't do. So I did stunts and stand-in for, there were 11 girls, and actually some of the boys that were on the show, they would dress me up like a little boy.
For one character?
Oh, for all kinds of things. So, yeah, you know, they don't see your face, and the way they edit these days, it's just like you can look at it and you'd be like, I guess that's me.
Yeah. Was that filmed in New Mexico?
Yeah, Albuquerque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the old where they used to do the Albuquerque newspaper printing. That's like a film studio now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Another thing that okay, let me rephrase that. Did you start like homesteading when you came here? Was that something you were into before?
I was getting into it. In Seattle, oh my gosh, you don't appreciate how verdant it is up there. The rain and the greenery and how easy it is for things to grow. So I was really into gardening up in Seattle. And our neighbors had some backyard chickens, which I was like curious about that, but didn't really pull the trigger. And then we moved here and had all this land, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to do chickens. Which has been amazing. They're great. They take care of themselves pretty much. And then I really wanted to do bees. And someone that we first met here came to look at our house, and I was like, you know, bees would do really well here. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Because I really want to do bees. And he's like, oh yeah, my cousin does. So he was telling me all about how bees thrive in New Mexico, which is kind of surprising because it's brown. There's not a ton of foliage everywhere, but the plants that are here, I mean, the bees, they feed off everything, the junipers, the chamisa, everything. So yeah, we get good honey flow. We have 4 hives now. Started with 2. Yeah, so it's, the bees have been astounding. But yeah, growing things, not so much. I need a greenhouse for that, and that's just a big investment to go down the greenhouse rabbit hole. So maybe one day.
What are some like everyday things that you do to take care of the chickens and bees?
So every day I'm out at sunrise. So the chickens have an automatic coop door, and it closes at sunset, opens at sunrise. They work with the sun. They really do. Like, as the year changes and the daylight changes, they change with it. So I'm on the chicken schedule, which is a really natural, amazing schedule to be on. You know, the sun goes down, I'm ready for bed. The sun comes up, I'm up with the chickens. So I go out and I just, you know, muck the coop, feed them, make sure their water's good. They really don't need too much else. I like to give them treats and stuff. They're really enriched chickens because I hang out with them all the time. But they're friendly. You can pick them up. They all have personalities, which really surprised me. They're way more intelligent than people give them credit for. I don't know, maybe that makes them easier to eat, thinking they're stupid, but they're actually pretty smart. And yeah, the bees this time of year, wintertime, they're nothing at all. And then in the summertime, I really only have to check them like once a week, and then I harvest honey maybe like 3 times a year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought of another question just now. What am I forgetting? But I was actually kind of distracted by like your record collection. Speaking of Seattle, I saw the U-Man and I was like, oh, and then like Tad.
Oh yeah,
I love
yeah. Yeah, we had a friend in Seattle. He used to do A&R for Sub Pop.
Oh, really?
And so we would have every time we get together. I don't know. Travis and I always seemed to have a vinyl release, and then he always had, you know, Sub Pop records. So we would do record swaps and things. So that's how I got some of these. Like the U-Men box set is like crazy.
That's so
like I can't believe he gave that to us. Like very cool. And yeah, Tad. Oh my gosh, like. My husband loves that record. I really like, what's the one? I got one, Rose Windows, which is a Sub Pop band that I never heard of, and he brought us one of the records at one of our little record swaps. Really cool, like dark folk is how I would describe it.
Rose Windows?
Rose Windows, yeah.
Noted.
It's folky, it's indie, but it's also really like, to me, very deep and dark, which is right up my alley.
How'd you start working on your solo record, Warm Waters?
Oh my gosh. I had written throughout my entire like musical career. I started off playing guitar. Drums are not my first instrument. Guitar has always been. When I was 9, I got a guitar and that was it. I wanted to play electric guitar in a rock band. So I've always played guitar in bands, and I've written songs with bands, but I had never like really written a full song just like on my own. And when we got to Seattle, I had started playing drums with programs, and that's when that was like what I was doing. So I wasn't playing guitar with other people, and that's what gave me an opportunity to sit alone with the guitar. So when I was in Seattle, starting around 2015, I started writing what would become Warm Waters. I mean, it took me, and I did play some of those songs. I did try to get a band together to play some of those songs. We were called Lord Jesus.
Okay.
And it was like really heavy, loud sludge versions of those songs.
That's so cool.
It was pretty cool. unfortunately, we did not record anything. We did play live a couple times. But yeah, we don't have any finished recordings. We did try to record all of them, but we never finished it. I need to try to get those because that would be pretty neat to revisit those. But anyway, then we moved here and I wrote a couple more and realized I had a full record. And my husband was like, you can't just let these songs sit. You have to go record them. And so we were thinking who would be good to record them. And there's this fellow, Bill Palmer. He used to live in Santa Fe, and he still plays up here sometimes. But at the time, he still lived here, and he played all the time. And he's like alt country. So not necessarily my genre, but his sensibilities were like very ethereal and very just like atmospheric. Like the whole vibe was very cool. And Travis was like, I think he would do a really good job recording your songs. And so by that point, he had moved to the Mexico border in Texas, Terlingua, Texas. So I called him up. He liked the songs, and he was like, yeah, let's record. And I know this old church down here. It's like this 100-year-old adobe church in Terlingua. So I went down in July. It was 115 degrees. And Bill and I just like got psychedelic in the heat and recorded all those songs in the church. It was a pretty amazing experience. So yeah, to me that record is like a once in a lifetime kind of like opus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you guys record it?
When did I go down there? July 2023.
Wow. And then it came out earlier this year, right?
Came out in October 2023.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Do you still write songs for yourself?
Yeah, I
That's what you
do. Yeah, I have a couple new ones
Sweet.
that I have on the back burner. I can't decide if I want to wait until I have another full-length group of songs or if I want to maybe release just maybe one at a time. I don't know what I want to do with them yet. But yeah, I do have new material, and I am thinking about maybe playing. I play out sometimes in Santa Fe.
Like solo sets?
Yeah, I did a
Your
solo
guitar?
set, in February 2024.
Okay.
So like a year ago, oh my God, at the Jean Cocteau.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So I do like kind of very intimate, special, like one-offs. Like I'll play maybe like once a year. In this case, yeah. Yeah, I could still make it, yeah. If I do it this year, it'll be once a year. So, and I played in Terlingua once, so 2023, 2024, and maybe I'll play in 2025.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I just thought of another question. With Glitz Biarritz, this is something I could totally ask the other members and have them weigh in, but I want to know, like, with that band, if you were to, like, headline a festival, like, who would you put on that bill? Like, any band?
Living or dead?
Any band.
Any band. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm going to think of bands that kind of, like, for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, when we first started playing together, songs that we played that really, like, made us think we could be a band. The MC5 would be one. Johnny's a huge Velvet Underground Lou Reed fan.
Okay.
I call Johnny like the punk historian because he always is like can see like where things originate, and I think he loves Lou Reed so much because he was like the original punk rocker, you know. The Stooges for sure. Trying to think. Oh, and definitely the New York Dolls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we're
Nice.
living in the past for
Yeah.
sure. We're playing with a bunch of ghosts, but I don't know. Current band, I don't know. Rock and roll's hard these days. I don't know if like a real current like glam band.
Yeah. You know, you guys like they're not super current, but you guys actually kind of remind us of Monster Magnet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But also, this is like just Vince though. He really reminds me of William DuVall from Alice. He's the Alice in Chains' current singer.
Oh, okay.
He reminds me of him a lot. And
Interesting.
apparently, he was a glam band for a while, so I could totally picture
Okay.
it.
And that
That's
makes
who he
sense too, because Alice in Chains kind of like can easily, if they like bring up the tempo.
Oh, they used to be like super.
They
fun
were
when
pretty
they
80s,
started
yeah,
out.
yeah. Like 80, yeah, and that's Olivier is like super in that 80s hair metal, like that's where he, as a young man, like really played got his start, is
That's
like
cool.
with 80s glam metal, like really in it. And then Tom is like very much like Johnny Thunders, like kind of a rockabilly, like roller derby kind of like. So we all do have these different, and I'm like the only one that's like, I used to be like really into like 90s punk because that was my era, but I'm way more into like post-punk, post-hardcore, indie rock kind of thing. I'm the only like not genuine punk rocker in the band.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of the 90s stuff, you do play or sing in a cover band,
Yeah.
Faded Flannel.
Yeah.
You guys, like, how do you select those songs? Because you do a lot of cool, like,
Mostly what I can sing, what's in my register. But no, it's and also just like stuff I used to listen to and all the girl grunge bands that like, I don't know, like Veruca Salt, yeah, people know who they are and everything, but they forget about them. And then they play the song, like, oh my God, I forgot about that song. That song's amazing. So I feel like those are the songs I want to play, or ones where, like, it's not the outward hit, but like, oh yeah, oh, L7, yes, of course. How could we forget about L7 or Bikini Kill? Like, oh, all these bands are amazing. And yeah, just an homage to just like badass chicks. And me trying to become a better singer, trying to sing like them, which doesn't always work.
Awesome. Did you have like, when you were like growing up, did you have like a background in music education at all? Were you in like choir or something?
Absolutely not. I am completely self-taught.
That's
I have
amazing.
no formal. I did take guitar lessons for a hot second when I first started playing guitar, because of course my parents were nice enough to invest this money into my new guitar and my amp and everything, and they're like, well, you need to learn how to play it. I'm like, okay. And so I could read music when I was young. I mean, now I'm like, I don't think I could. But yeah, drums completely self-taught. And singing, it's just you learn, when you can learn how to like tune an instrument or hear a note, singing I don't know, I feel like really finding your voice takes a really, really, really long time. I feel like I didn't find my voice until my mid-30s. It took a long time because your voice matures over time. And like now I'm like, I finally have like control of it, I feel like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What are you listening to right now? What's inspiring you at the current moment?
Oh man. It's really I'm gonna have a really disappointing answer for this, because I think people are gonna be like, "Ooh, I want to know what new bands there are and whatever." But I don't. The older you get, the less you like. I was always so up on it, like up and enthusiastic on every new band, every record that came out. I was like circling the blogs, just constantly like just hungry for new music all the time. Like I wanted to know what records were coming out when, and now music's become just so fun and such a stress-free hobby that I don't seek it out intentionally as much anymore. Like if it comes across me, I'll be into it. But like local bands that are awesome, like All THICC, they're freaking awesome. Like, so there's some really cool like New Mexico punk that's going on right now that I wouldn't have known is happening if I didn't join Glitz Biarritz. And like we're playing with a really awesome band called Smoking Dolls with just a bunch of cool chicks in that band. Mommy Milkers, like cool female fronted band. So that's the stuff that like has been getting me excited lately. Not necessarily like, I don't know, bigger bands or blogs or things like that. It's more of like what I've come in contact with locally. And yeah, I Watch You Sleep, obviously. Like there's just a lot of cool local stuff happening that gets me excited. But if you want to know like a band that's kind of blowing up, Cloakroom is kind of like a newish band that I've been turned on to.
Where are they from?
Fairly recently.
I haven't heard of them.
I don't know. I think they're from. Hold on. I don't want to be wrong. They are from. Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
But they're like, which I've always been into this kind of music, heavy shoegaze
Yeah, man.
kind of stuff. Like
Okay,
I love
probably like
Whir, like True Widow. There's like a whole genre of just like heavy shoegaze, almost stoner rock, but not really. It's way more melodic than that.
Okay.
Obviously, like My Bloody Valentine starting that whole, being the first band to really like inspire all those other bands. But so I'm always into that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that was it, but actually something else came to mind. I also saw, I think on your website or something, but you're in a movie that's coming up, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually just got a text from a friend about when it's actually coming out, because
Awesome.
I filmed it over a year ago now. Wow. That's how long these things take. But it's called Opus. It's an A24 thing.
And what is your role in that?
I am a day player. I am part of a cult.
Oh, wow.
So it's John Malkovich, who's the main character. He's like a has-been, like 70s, like pop star.
Okay.
But he like has been, no one knows what happened to him, and then it's like, oh, he kind of reemerges like with a cult, and I'm part of his cult.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I did a day player role on that. So, you know, depending on how they edit the film and see if my part gets cut, I'll be pretending, I don't want to give too much of the movie away, but I'll be pretending someone wasn't murdered. While Io Edebiri, who's a journalist, I think I'm saying her name right, asked me questions about where this person might be, but I don't think they're coming back. Yeah, it's going to be a really weird movie.
That's exciting.
A horror thriller
Cool.
kind of thing. Yeah. The coolest part for me was meeting Juliette Lewis. So she's part of this. It's almost like Clue. I don't know, that the cast of characters that find themselves at this cult compound trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Kind of the vibe reminded me of Clue.
Okay.
But it's going to be way more sinister and weird than Clue.
That's awesome.
So yeah, should be good.
That's all I have. Anything else you wanted to add?
I wanted to ask something.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to know about Oppenheimer. Because you were in that, right?
About what?
Oppenheimer?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was... so that was, like, really one of the first things where I was like, oh, I guess maybe I could do this. Yeah, I got cast. I just did background. I didn't have any lines in that film. Cool. But it was still amazing. Never been a part of a $100 million movie before. It's like it's so out there. It's just otherworldly. It's like totally incredible. So even just like getting fitted was an incredible, like if all that happened to me during that experience was just getting fitted for my costume, I would have been like, well, that was really neat. Like I wouldn't have had to do anything more than that. But it's just incredible to see. So Christopher Nolan wanted everything to be completely period correct. So just from my personal experience doing wardrobe, you are wearing 1940s underwear, 1940s stockings, the 1940s bras, and like the little poofy triangle things that go in them. Like even though no one's gonna see that stuff, that's what we were. And you know, I think there were 400 cast background that needed to be fitted. So I give the costume department on Oppenheimer like full like how incredible. and they just like, and then the set is, I did scenes out in Abiquiu where they built the like 1940s Los Alamos. It was like 40 degrees. The wind was like 80 miles an hour. And everyone just has to pretend that they're fine. So you're just like, action. And it's just like, you act the discomfort away, I guess. It was terrible. I mean, everybody had like windburn dust. I mean, I had dirt all like everywhere in the creases of my eyes. Like it was.
How many like scenes were you in?
Two. Yeah,
Okay.
two.
Both outdoors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
Wow.
my God, yeah. It was cool though because it was like time travel because you're just around everything 1940s. Little 1940s cars are driving by. Everybody looks amazing in their costumes and everyone's very period correct. Like it's all like, young wartime people. Like, it's about as close to time travel as I think I'll ever get, which is really cool. And one last thing to mention is the IMAX camera. I'd never been around like that huge IMAX camera, and they can't move it unless it's on tracks. Like and if they have to move it, they have huge cranes on these pickup trucks and stuff.
And it's really loud, huh?
It's so loud, but like in a really neat way. It's like very like old timey. So Christopher Nolan is always hovering around on like a crane. He's like in his little chair, like you like look over it. And it's very like how you imagine like big movies being made, like megaphone action, and then you hear the tick, 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 tick of the film.
Oh my gosh.
From the camera, which these days you don't hear that because it's all digital, but that to me, hearing the clicking of the film and like knowing that he can't watch playbacks, like so when you do takes and stuff, there's no, because every set that everyone's watching the playbacks, doing the scenes like 10 million times and all this stuff. It was not like that on Oppenheimer. It was very old school, which was cool to see.
Very cool.
Yeah.